What's going on, guys? This is your boy Random Guy Kev, and this is Thoughts of a Random Guy. We talk about many things dealing with love, dating, relationships, adulting, life's ups and downs, and the ever-evolving world of just being a human. Don't forget to check me out on all your favorite social media platforms at Random Guy Kev and my website at randomguykev.com. Today's topic is, let's talk about cults. And my co-host for this episode is
The Lord Minister Glen.
Lord Minister Glen. Okay. So if some of you don't know, Netflix had some type of series called what is it? How to be a cult leader. If you haven't watched that, I suggest you watch it because it's the wildest thing I've ever seen. And I didn't think cults were like a big thing, but it seems that cults are a big thing at some point. And I think there's still some cults now, but they're not as big as they were back in the day. And it's like, it's a scary thing how these cults like literally took over people's lives and they wanted to, I don't know. It's like weird how people just kind of got into them and they were okay.
Yeah, and
And
they come out now and they tell their story, and it's always there's always in every story there's always like a sense of loss, and they came out of it, and they didn't realize it when they were in. I'm like, had you not really realized that you were in a cult when you were in a cult?
yeah, and it's like the weirdest thing. I'm like trying to understand like, okay, so I get it, the hippie era and all this jazz, and like you wanted to try something different, but like, come on, let's come on, let's be serious. Like how I still want to understand. Like I get it. You're looking for, and when I see, I'm sorry, when I seen some black people in some of them, I was like, come on. This is not. I'm sorry, not to put race in it. It's like that's not something we do. We don't just join things like this. Like
Yeah.
what? Like who does this? But the different episodes talk about like literally how to become a cult leader as far as like it's essentially a guide on how these people became cult leaders, and they talk about, I believe, 6 different groups. And some of the names you hear of, you're just like, okay, I've heard of that one, like the Manson family, People's Temple, Unification Church. And for me, like it was very interesting because how the cult leaders drew people in, and they drew them in, and people were like, okay, I'm okay with doing this. I'm okay with doing this to my body. I'm okay with signing off all the money I make to you. I'm okay being in a designated marriage that you set up for me. I'm okay with having this many wives and this many children.
Yes.
It's like
People
what
people are just
what
in a down spot, and they think, and I mean, one of the main I guess some of the main personality traits of like most of the co-leaders share are all of them are extremely charismatic,
mm,
and they're able to get people pretty much on their side. They're very alluring. They're narcissistic. They're they're 100% in it to take advantage of people. But they give those people a false sense of security, that they're there for their best interests, and they all share a like mind, and so come follow me, I'll help you out, I'll take care of you. People who are just down on their luck, or looking to get something out of it, um, that they don't even necessarily know that they are, just kind of blindly follow.
yeah, and like one of like Charles Manson and the Manson family, motherfucker's crazy.
Bro.
Like
Yeah.
I think he had maybe his cult didn't grow. He was just seeking attention everywhere he went though, and reinventing himself, and like I I feel like there were so many signs there, like, bruh, like something's wrong with you. Something is wrong with everything you're doing because you're trying to be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
And like, come on, bruh. Like he's having his family members kill people, kill
Yeah.
people, and torture them and kidnap them. It's like, and they're like, this is okay.
And
I'm fine with this.
to some degree, I mean, I don't want to. It's not 100% blame, but he did dose a lot of his family members with hallucinogenic drugs, so they're
Oh
definitely
yeah,
not in the right state of
and
mind.
that was a big thing back then, like
Yeah.
LSD and stuff
Him
for
moving
some of these
from, I
cults.
think it was Virginia, over to California and then reinventing himself there was like, especially during that time period, like the hippie era,
Yeah.
was like perfect for him. It couldn't have worked out any better. Everybody's doing drugs over there. Everybody's moving over there to get, because California, even now, has always promised like freedom and sunshine and happiness everywhere you go, and so you have people flocking over there for like a new start.
Yeah.
Um, and then they just get people who don't know any better just get trapped by Charles Manson, and he starts showing them drugs and promising them, the world, and we're gonna be famous and big, and we're gonna go break into other houses and rob people, and it'll be
Oh yeah.
cool. Like, and people just did it.
Yeah. Um, and that's the crazy thing. They were okay with just breaking into. What they did. They broke into people's houses and moved shit around and left.
Yeah, like I mean, that's hilarious.
No, I'm sorry. That's funny as hell. But at the same time, it's like he's testing their loyalty to see if they would do it.
Yeah,
And it's like, bruh, like I know people gonna look back on us like, oh, this is what y'all was doing in the 2020s, like 2000s shit, like. But like you look back at the 70s, like, bruh, y'all was following this man who has no type of money. You're giving up your money, your lifestyle for him.
dude didn't even look good. He just
Bruh.
kind of
I
looked like
mean,
a junkie.
he did look like he was just straight high every time. The whole Jim Jones thing too.
Yeah,
Jim Jones on there. They touched a little bit on that, but like, if you want to like look at Jim Jones, do a deep dive because it just, I'm sorry, it was
Yeah, these.
back. I mean, back in the day, back during that time, he was very religious, a white minister taking on black mannerisms, and he had a large African American congregation. It's like, and people liked what he was saying, and if you do go to church, someone's talking the right way, I kind of get it, and especially if he literally code switched with whoever he was dealing, what group he was dealing with, African Americans, Caucasians, Asians. He code switched to cater to that specific group, and that specific group picked up on it. It was, oh yeah, I like it, love it. It's the greatest thing ever.
The show on Netflix, the How to Become a Cult Leader, just kind of briefly, like, they go into Jim Jones, but they go briefly into his story, but
Yep.
going like deep into his whole congregation and what he made his followers do and what he promised them. And then, I mean, everybody, I don't remember if it touched on it in this particular episode, but the whole, I know people have heard it at least once in their life, of like, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know it's from the Jonestown congregation.
Yeah. So guys, so if you don't know anything about Jim Jones, it's essentially, he got all these people together. They moved to, I believe, Guyana, and they built a town called Jonestown, essentially, and he had them commit mass murder, suicide.
Yeah, it
It's
was,
about, I want to say 800, 900 plus people, and how he killed them was flavor Kool-Aid.
yep. So it
And
was kind of
he
like,
put
oh,
cyanide. Yeah.
this is our ascension. This is our key into our great afterlife, our heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me. And so he put cyanide in the flavor aid, um, and he had everybody drink it. Anybody who he had other followers there, anybody who wasn't going to drink the Kool-Aid and pretty much kill themselves or give it to their child, and follow him into this ascension, were just shot.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
and so and the thing is, it's like, again, how do people get to this point of allowing someone else to dictate how their life is being ran and what they should be doing? I get it. I feel like from my understanding, you have to be essentially weak-minded and on like going through shit. But some of the people that that were in the interviews, they were able to get out when they once they started realizing what the fuck was going on.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like those people that could get out. It's like, what were you going through that you thought this person was God to you, and you would do anything they say?
And they have to have something going on. They have to be down in the dumps. They have to. I mean, it's just spirit or will is just broken. Um, and for a lot of people, again, like with, I feel like with Charles Manson, it was easier. Again, you have
Yeah.
people going out to California with the promise of a new bright life, and they start getting into drugs. Jonestown, and Jim Jones, and even what was, I can't remember, it was the Unification Church and the
Um,
Moonies.
yeah, the
Um,
Moonies.
and some people were just, they wanted to be closer to God. There was a whole big, I guess, switch in
Hmm.
people who were just looking for a purpose in life. Um, and some people who just came from other religions already had an idea of what was going on, and they just like, oh yeah, this guy kind of, aligns with my beliefs.
Yeah.
So they just followed. They're like, yeah, this guy, I get this guy. It's a lot of confirmation bias, and
Hmm.
a lot of people looking, like, just hearing what they want to hear. Um,
And that's the, like, so with the Unification Church, they would do mass marriages. He would pick who you were marrying.
yeah. So pick who you're marrying. It's not just like a private wedding that's sanctioned, like I don't want to say typical wedding, but typical wedding is between two people, and you have friends and family there, and hanging out, drinking, dancing, partying, having a good time. It's about the couple who's getting married. The whole wedding is like a celebration of the unification of two souls, right? And they'll bring a family, and they'll have kids, and it's all a celebration of that, right? And you
Yeah.
have, sometimes it was like 2,000 people, 2,000 couples
Yeah, 2,000 couples getting married
at
in a
the same
stadium.
time, and they're just all packed. Yeah, he was packing out stadiums, and and
That
just,
was his claim to fame essentially. And I think he did it for what 50, 60 years until he died in 2012.
yeah.
This man was still doing this shit in 2012. That's what baffles me. Like, people were just listening to his teachings and being like, "Oh, this is cool. I accept it." Like,
Yeah,
bro,
and then it was
what?
passed on to his kids, and then his kids were all doing that. And I guess it's different because for the kids, for his kids, or even for the kids that were born into that unification church and that religion, that's all they know. It's just normal to them. It's not like they had a brain and a mind outside of it, and then it just something switched, and then they
Yeah.
joined the church, they joined the cult. It was these kids, that's all they know. It's what they
Mm-hmm.
grew up knowing. It's, obviously the kids of, um, the church, just, I don't want to say they're brainwashed, but
I mean, you're born in the church, and that's your only family. You listen to whatever you believe, whatever it is,
and
which sucks.
we can't call them a cult because they're not considered a cult. They act very
Well,
cult-like,
yeah, they're a religious group.
but similar with Scientology.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are speaking out about Scientology. A lot of famous actors and actresses are coming out, and they're breaking off from the church, they're being excommunicated, and they're starting to speak about their experiences in the church. Um, and Scientology is still a big church that's around today. There's still churches of Scientology all around. There's
Mm-hmm.
Boston, New
Mm-hmm.
York, pretty much every major city. Um, there's thousands, tens of thousands of members of the Church of Scientology, and again, it's gaining a lot of traction because you have a lot of uh, famous figures, influencers,
Mm-hmm.
celebrities that are coming out and speaking up against the horrors of the church and what really goes on behind the scenes. Um, but it's nothing can be done about it because here we have religious freedoms. Um, so you can't really go after churches for certain religious freedoms.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, then there's the which one was this? The Heaven Gates one, where they believed aliens were coming to take them.
That one was big
Uh,
in New York too.
yeah, I think there was a couple cults similar to that one, but supposedly this was the bigger one because everybody killed themselves essentially.
hmm
Um, so what this one was based off of, the two couples, uh, the Applewhites or something like that.
Yep.
Um, they said, we got to leave our human bodies here because the spaceships are going to come take us away. And this is like in California. Um, and then what happened? Like, I mean, I think they got like 40, 50 people to join in. And then eventually the wife died. So he changed, the husband changed the vision of what was happening. And then essentially he said, we have to leave our earthly bodies here. And essentially did the same thing as Jim Jones, like mass suicide.
Yeah, it's always they uh, same with like Jim Jones or Applewhite or even Charles Manson. Like they believe that they're like they're the Messiah. They're next to Jesus in the Christian religion.
Yeah,
Um, and so they're basically they're the voice of God, or they're directly like the hand of God, and you need to do what He says. And people, it kind of plays on people's fears a
mm-hmm.
lot and people's insecurities. So people just kind of go with it because they're scared, you know.
Again, it's to me, I'm like,
But yeah, it was his was the extra level of weird because you had that UFO element into it. It wasn't all about
yeah,
it wasn't all about
uh,
God and
yeah,
Christianity or I'm Jesus, listen to me. It was like he did change it into, yeah, it's a higher like ascension. We're gonna have, there are UFOs around. We have aliens gonna come visit us, and we're gonna kill ourselves and just ascend
send, yeah,
into these uh, essentially aliens.
yeah,
And it was crazy.
bro. I was like,
I mean, it's crazy to
this.
us. It's crazy to us.
Yeah, I get it. I know it was a different time, but still, it's like, when did common sense kind of like just get thrown out the window? And I'm sorry, I don't feel like every one of these people were weak-minded.
No, I, they definitely not everybody was weak-minded. Obviously, people have come around and either left the church at the right time or
At the
left
right
the group
time,
at the
yep.
right time before um, they were killed or before they committed suicide. Because there are, again, in this documentary, there are plenty of people who were speaking about it, and they you could see when they're talking about their time in the church or in the congregation or whatever
Mm-hmm.
cult they were in, um, that they are definitely distant about it. Kind of
Yeah,
like it's very hazy for them, and they have to really focus when they're speaking about it. Because it was also we're talking the 70s and 80s, so 40,
yeah,
50 years ago.
yeah,
And a lot of them were adults by that time. They're in their 20s or 30s when they were in the cult. Um, so they're talking back a while. Their brain has to jog their memory, but a lot of people just seemed so spaced out, like they weren't all there.
all right, yeah. The drugs did it.
Yeah, 70s, 60s, 70s. It's all about drugs and trying to
Yeah,
find
but like
yourself. And
again, but there were some cults that continued into the 2000s. So it's like now you have access to the internet and computers and stuff like that. It's like that shit confuses me sometimes.
well, that's part of it too. Is they restrict what people can do and what people can see,
Yeah,
just so that it's like strictly about the church. They don't want anybody getting any outside information and kind of repenting and rebelling against the church or cult.
yeah, and some of the cult. It's funny because like they said some of the cults started like based off like yoga and just getting your body right, getting your
Yeah.
mind right. And I'm like, so yoga instructors are cult leaders. Got it.
Yeah, it's kind of sets the stage for um, again, it brings in the element of how people became cult leaders.
Cult, yeah.
It's all about it. It kind of gives you a guidebook on how to become a cult leader, be charismatic,
Mm-hmm,
promise
mm-hmm.
self-help, and this and
That's
that.
the
And
whole
it gives you
focus.
the whole guide, but it gives you the reasons why they're giving you those characteristics are because it has already happened. They're taking elements from multiple cult leaders that all popped up around the same time. Um,
Yeah. So, guys, another thing, like, there's on Netflix has a bunch of docuseries and even on Hulu, like, and there. I'm sorry, this shit is kind of interesting because I always want to understand how do people get into these groups and everything that's going on. How do they think? Okay, this is okay. I like this. I like what's going on here. And it's some wild fucked up shit like but you're getting married off or you can't get married. You belong to the leader and the leader likes boys and men and women and it's like what is
the
going
the
on?
the one that threw me off, that probably throws me off the most, um, is the Branch Davidians. Though it was in Waco, Texas, and it's with David Koresh, and it's more, I guess, publicized, um, because they had a standoff with the ATF and the FBI and the CIA.
Oh, okay. That's the one where it was the wake what's it called?
Not the
It's
Ruby Ridge, but it was the Waco, like
the
the Waco
Waco. It's
siege.
yeah, the Waco siege.
Because they did have they had a bunch of firearms, they had a bunch of illegal firearms they weren't supposed to have, and the ATF and the government was basically trying to step in and get them on the gun charges. They were,
Yeah.
they already had they were already kind of in their sights because of the way they were preaching
Do
their cult stuff.
yeah.
Um, they essentially sieged this compound, um, and went in and in my opinion, the ATF kind of screwed up because there were women and children in there who weren't
Yeah.
as radicalized, and they ended up
Yeah.
either getting set on fire or shot or anything. A lot of stuff went wrong. Um, but Branch Davidian was crazy for me because it's like one of the things that the leader David Koresh was talking about. He's like, you're not allowed to have sex, you're not allowed to get married, you're not allowed to do this, um, or all of the guys have to practice celibacy, right? Is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these guys are coming into this cult with their wives and their daughters, um, and David Koresh, the leader, is the only one allowed to sleep with your wife.
Sleep. Yep.
The
Sleep with
only
them.
one
That
allowed
shit.
to have sex with your wife and have kids with your wife. You're not allowed to. You have to be celibate because if you're not celibate, the sex will distract you from the true vision of the cult or of this congregation, and you won't enter ascension. And I'm sorry, like I don't know how messed up I have to be like, oh yeah, sure, dude,
Word.
just just have a go. And it's different now because now it's like you're kink shaming somebody. It's in this new society of
Yeah, it's kink shaming now.
like if you don't
Because
want to be a cuck and you want to have somebody else, you know, do things with your significant other. Um, but that's not for me.
yeah, no.
And
Listen, I'm selfish. Ain't no way. Ain't no way this shit happening.
that's not for me. So
Yeah.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that one was definitely crazy. There was another one on Netflix. Keep, Sweet, Pray, and Obey. That was about the fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and bro, it just
Oh,
got wild
yep.
and wild because this man,
Mormons are wild.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, bro, like they essentially the leader. Okay, he had control of your money, your funds, and he, tried to create. They essentially took over a small town. Um, they had people go in and buy towns, and everybody. If you came into the cult essentially with, say, you owned a construction business, now you got to sign off the rights to the construction business to the owner, because that's the only way you're kind of getting in. And you got to give your entire self to to the
Yeah,
cult leader.
they owned everything about you.
They own everything about you. And then, you know, this person was allowed to have as many wives as possible. So this man had like a million, 50 wives, all varying ages.
Hmm.
Varying ages. I'm like, this shit is disgusting. And it's like, what's the purpose of this cult? Like, oh, the world's gonna end at this point, and we need to be the ones. We are the selected few that will survive.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, again, the cult leader is looking to just. They're narcissistic. They're looking to manipulate people. They feel more important than they actually are in life because they are in control of this
Yeah,
congregation of people. There's a gaggle of people, and um, especially like what you were saying with the Latter Day Saints is when he controls every aspect of somebody's life, it's hard for those people to leave because everything, their money, their job, they have to basically just start fresh.
start over.
And in your
That
late
shit.
20s, your 30s, your 40s, it's kind of hard to do. They're
Mm-hmm.
very reliant on you as an individual. So that gives them an added kind of superiority complex.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so, I mean, guys, I would recommend watching some of this cult stuff. It's interesting stuff just to know personally, and
Yeah, it's a big part of history, but it's
it's
also good so that in the event that somebody is trying to start a cult in 2023 or the future,
yeah,
you may pick up on some of the subtleties that are happening and realize,
mm-hmm.
yeah, that my friend that I've known for 15 years is trying to start a cult, and I'm really not trying to be a part of it.
Yeah, word. Like you'll pick up the signs like, is this a cult? Is this a cult? But that is it for this episode, guys. You guys can find me on all social media platforms at Random Guy Kev and my website at randomguykev.com. Don't forget to check in, and I will catch you guys on the next one.